Chapter 15. He's My Fiancé. Emerson sat across from Otis in the common room, playing cards with him and Cruz as the chief walked in with Gabby and Matt following closely behind. Bowden cleared his throat, catching everyone's attention. The room fell silent and everyone turned to face them. "Good morning, everyone." Chief Bowden started. "I wanted to let you all know that Dawson will be detailed to OFI from now on." A chorus of "what" and gasped echoed around the room. All of them surprised to hear that after everything Gabby went through to become a firefighter. "I'm pregnant," Gabby blurted out, the room becoming silent once again for a few seconds before everyone burst into cheers and applause for the couple. Matt and Gabby smiled and welcomed their coworkers' hugs. "Hey, remember, people, the outside world is on a need-to-know basis. Not a word goes beyond 51, right, Lieutenant?" Herman warned everyone. "Right. That goes especially for you, Connie," Emerson teased, the woman sending her a warning look as she walked away. The paramedic went straight to her old partner, congratulating her with a hug. "I'm so happy for you, Gabby," she told the brunette, squeezing her in her arms. They swung side to side, large smiles on their faces. "Anything you need, I'm here." "Thank you, Emerson." Gabby smiled with tears in her eyes, eventually pulling away from the girl because she had to go report to OFI. Truck 81, Squad 3, Ambulance 61. Vehicle accident. The firefighters evacuated the driver of the truck, not without struggles, and brought him on the paramedic's gurney to get checked out while the second guy was brought to another ambulance. Turns out it was a robbery in progress, as the driver of the car was planning on robbing the armored cash transport car. Chili and Emerson transported their patient, did the run like they always did before heading back to the firehouse. "I'd hate to be taken out of the job just because of a positive pregnancy test," Chili blurted out, taking Emerson by surprise. "I mean, the baby's not even formed yet, and you're out of a job? Stupid." Emerson chuckled. "I take it you don't plan on having kids?" "I really don't," Chili stated, a hint of sarcasm in her tone. "Do you?" Emerson breathed out and shook her head. "No, I don't. Part of the reason why I'm in Chicago and not St. Louis." She spoke with a smile as she parked the ambulance. The paramedic stepped out, ending the conversation right there. She didn't really want to be questioned about her words. She immediately went to the common room, sitting at the table behind the couch where Mouch and Otis were sitting. As she flipped through a magazine, Herman walked in, yapping about someone coming after Molly's. "Who?" Otis asked. "The Portland Jagoffs next door. They reported us for violating the city's noise ordinance." "Can you believe that crap?" he snapped. "What?" Emerson jumped in, well aware that they came in to meet the owners earlier in the week and complained about the noise, although no one thought they would take it further. "They seem completely harmless." Otis grabbed the notice from Herman's hands, looking it over. "Yeah, beneath those beards and the baby Bjorns, they're flesh-eating piranhas." Herman added as Emerson noticed Jimmy, who had been accepted back in after formally apologizing to the chief, walking towards Herman. "They want a war. They're going to get a war." "Easy there, crazy horse," Otis muttered, still reading the letter. "Let's talk this one out, yeah? What's Molly's?" Jimmy questioned, making Emerson sigh out loud. She knew what was coming. She made the first mistake when she first arrived. "Don't," she asked, only to be cut off by Herman. "Molly's? It's the best damn refuge in the city, a salt-of-the-earth kind of joint where we serve cold comfort to red-blooded Americans." Herman spoke in a low tone, 100% serious. "So a bar?" Emerson gasped at Jimmy's answer, knowing it was going to tick off Herman. He only sighed in response, showing his disappointment. An amazing bar. Jimmy recovered after noticing the looks he got from Herman and Emerson. "Just go clean some pots and pans, candidate." Herman called out, pointing at him. "Go." Jimmy raised his hands up, a small smile on his lips when he turned around to go back to his kitchen cleaning. Emerson pushed herself up and walked up to him, grabbing a cloth to help him out with the dishes. "I take it we don't come between Herman and Molly's?" Jimmy questioned, amused by the man's reaction. Emerson chuckled. "Nope. It's his sacred place." "Right?" He laughed, grabbing a plate from her to place it on the shelf. "How long have you been at 51? "Few months," Emerson told him, flashing a smile. "It's a great house, you'll see." "I don't doubt that for a second. I've been told great things about it." Jimmy told her, leaning against the counter next to her. Plus, the paramedic seemed pretty cool. His eyes looked straight into hers, making her blush slightly as a smile appeared on her lips. Ambulance 61, man down for unknown causes, 12th Street at Lake Michigan. That's me. Good luck with the dishes. Emerson exclaimed, waving as she ran down to the apparatus floor. Jimmy waved as he watched her run off, thinking about how welcoming and nice she'd been to him. Needless to say, he was intrigued by her. Chili and Emerson arrived at the address shortly, only to realize that it was a beach. They grabbed everything they needed and were guided by someone to the man down. As they walked over, they noticed a woman doing chest compressions on him. They made everyone around them back up as Emerson got to her knees next to the person. "I got it," she told the woman, taking over compressions. "What happened?" Chili asked. "I took his paddleboard out. When I came back, Mikey, he was grabbing his chest, and he collapsed onto the sand face first." The woman explained, her voice wavering. "He doesn't have a pulse," Emerson informed her partner, continuing the chest compressions. "Are you guys friends?" "He's my fiancé." The woman spoke, too panicked to notice Emerson sighing as Chili placed the pads on his chest. Charging. Everyone backed off. Clear. The monitor shocked him, the paramedics watching it in case they got a pulse back. "Still in VTAC," Emerson said, resuming compression as Chili called in to Maine for a manpower assist. She told her partner to continue compression while she'd intubate the man. Chili told her to stop compressions, glancing at the monitor while Emerson started bagging him. "We need an epi," Emerson said, letting Chili prepare it. The paramedic in charge gave her the dose, calling clear as another shock was administered. Right as the shock was sent, the woman put her hands on his chest, getting shocked too. "Does she not know what clear means?" Emerson exclaimed in disbelief. She stayed working on the man while Chili went to take care of the woman by herself. 61 to Maine. We need a second ambo now." Chili monitored the woman, finding out that she was in VFib. Emerson called out that she was going to push another epi for the man, her P approving as she charged the monitor and sent a shock. "She's got a rhythm," Chili called, getting back to the man so she could help her partner. They pushed a third epi as Chili took over compressions. The second ambulance arrived, advising them to stop pushing epis on the man, telling them he wasn't going to make it. "I got a pulse," Chili said, both paramedics sighing in relief. Praise the Lord. Emerson sighed heavily, mostly because she was out of breath after doing compressions for so long. "Seriously, thanks," she said, looking up at the sky. "He's got a shot," Chili stated, sending a proud smile towards the other team. The paramedics transported him to Chicago Med, where the doctors and nurses took care of him. The paramedics decided to go check on the baby they delivered a few days earlier, only to find out the family had not yet visited him. It made Emerson extremely sad because, as someone who had been adopted, she knew the feeling of not being wanted by birth parents, and it wasn't a good one. She brushed it off the best she could, heading back to the firehouse with Chili as soon as they could. Emerson immediately went to the common room, hoping someone over there would take her mind off of the baby. After a long and heated conversation with Joe and Otis about something that didn't really matter, Jimmy sat with them. "So, anyone going to Molly's tonight? I'd like to check it out," he asked, mostly looking at Emerson for an answer. Herman jumped in. "Of course. Everyone's coming to Molly's tonight, right?" he loudly said, squeezing Emerson's shoulder as if he was pressuring her to say yes. "I'm going," Otis said, raising his hand while Cruz sent a nod of agreement. Emerson nodded too, watching a slight smirk making Jimmy's lips curve up at her response as he simply nodded and looked away. Emerson walked into Molly's, immediately spotting Erin at the bar. She approached her right away, sitting next to her old friend. "Hey, stranger." "Hey," Erin greeted warmly, hugging her sideways. "Heard you had a rough last couple of shifts." Emerson thought back to the mother they lost and the baby they saved, nodding at Erin. "Yeah, but it'll be fine." She waved her off, staring ahead of her shortly before speaking again. "How's going back to work going?" "Very well." Erin smiled, seeming happier than she was when they last talked. Emerson was glad to see it, but the next words out of Erin's mouth made her heart drop to her stomach. "Jay and I got back together. He's been there for me since the beginning, and we decided that coming clean to Voight might help us give it an actual chance. Emerson inhaled deeply, recovering from the heart-dropping sensation she just had. That's great, really. She forced out a smile, her eyes looking around her for anything that might distract her. The sight of Otis pushing Jimmy out of his seat, only to sit on it himself, did the trick. I'll talk to you later. It was great seeing you. She sincerely told her friend before grabbing her drink and walking off towards the boys' table. She ended up standing next to Jimmy, who greeted her with a large smile. She sent one right back. First shift. What do you have to say for yourself, candidate? Otis questioned, settling in his seat with his beer. Best job in the world. Cheers. The boys all answered proudly, raising their bottles. And Herman was right. Tamales, best refuge in all of Chicago. Jimmy added sincerely, looking between every single one of them. You know, Herman's not here yet, so you don't have to suck up, she jokingly said, glancing up into his eyes, only now realizing that he was quite taller than her. Yeah, and we're going to bust your balls no matter what, Mouch agreed with Emerson, earning a few hums of agreements from Otis and Joe. Jimmy playfully rolled his eyes. For real. Feels like family. Speaking of which, what crimes against humanity is your brother perpetrating tonight? Joe asked, making his fellow firefighters hold back a laugh. Danny's all right. That was just big brother, little brother stuff. Everybody goes through it. Emerson cleared her throat. I have an older brother, and he never toilet paper mummied me on my first day on the job. She sent him an apologetic smile, not really wishing for him to be on the spot like that, but it was a group discussion. Jimmy shrugged. It's cool. I got a handle on it. They quickly changed subject, figuring that Jimmy didn't really want to talk about it. Mouch! Otis and Joe got in a conversation about God knows what, as Jimmy picked up a conversation with Emerson, getting to know her. The two got along awfully well, and she learned a lot about Jimmy, things such as the fact that he's a certified EMT. Eventually, everyone heard the door slamming shut behind someone. Herman walked in, his foot sounding heavy on the floor, as he went straight to the back of the room. Otis had informed them that he went to speak with the new neighbors, but judging by the purpose in his step as he grabbed the karaoke machine, they figured it didn't go too well. When the U.S. Marines stormed Panama to run that crook Noriega out on a rail, he was holed up in the Holy See, so how did we smoke him out? A little piece of something special, psyops called noise warfare. Herman made a speech as he plugged in the machine with Mouch's help, purposely leaving the side door open. These Portland pinheads are about to get a little taste of Panama City circa 1989. It is karaoke night, everyone, he announced, grabbing a mic as the music started. Everyone cheered and applauded before regrouping closer to Herman to sing along and dance. Jimmy leaned down to speak into Emerson's ear. Is this why we don't mess with him? He laughed, amused by the older firefighter. Precisely, she nodded, laughing. You dance? He asked, holding out his hand for her. She gave the thought a few seconds before widely smiling and grabbing his hand. I can, I guess. He laughed at her uncertain response, pulling her towards the group of people who were already dancing. She laughed as he sang out loud with Herman, throwing her head back slightly. From the other side of the room, Jay sat with Aaron as they watched the crowd in front of them have fun and let loose. His eyes fell on Emerson, who was dancing with someone Jay didn't know, very obviously having the time of her life. She was laughing and smiling the whole time. He even watched her blush a couple of times when he spoke into her ear. He felt a ping in his chest as he watched them together. Jay figured he felt that way because of the friendship he developed with the woman. He felt protective of her, and seeing her flirt with someone he didn't know made him feel doubtful of their intentions. Although he figured it was none of his business, so he focused back on Aaron as he took a sip of his beer.